Hello and welcome to our special coverage of the US elections. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Which way will the US presidential election swing on the 5th of November? The answer lies with the voters of 7 swing states. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris spent large chunks of their last week campaigning in these states. So which are these battleground states and why are they so crucial? Kiran Khatri takes a look.
Will America get its first woman president, or will Donald Trump secure a second presidency? Most opinion polls point towards a dead heat, which is why a lot is riding on 7 battleground states, which haven't historically aligned with any of the two parties and could sway either way. The 7 states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, control 93 electoral college votes. Pennsylvania has the highest at 19, followed by Georgia and North Carolina with 16 each. As per polling averages calculated by ABC News' analytical website 538, neither of the candidates has a decisive lead in any of the states. However, Kamala Harris seems to be doing better than Joe Biden, who was trailing Trump by 5 percentage points in polls earlier this year. Trump has a small lead in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada and North Carolina, while Harris has a slight edge in Wisconsin and Michigan. Remember, the polls have a margin of error, so the numbers could be higher or lower. Let's take a look at how the swing states voted in the previous elections. Pennsylvania, the 5th most populous American state, has seen aggressive campaigning by both candidates. Trump clinched the state in 2016, but Biden showed strength here in 2020.
In the 2020 election, this was won by the Democrats by the razor-thin margin of just 1%, and the margin could well be narrower this time. It's a very, very close call. The Republicans, the Democrats have put everything they've got into winning this state, into winning every vote.
Remember, the state is witness to an enduring image of blood dripping from Trump's ear after a failed assassination attempt in July. Trump believes that if he wins in Pennsylvania, he will win the whole thing. Georgia voted for the Republican candidate from 1992 to 2016 but flipped towards Biden in 2020. He clinched the state with a margin of over 11,700 votes. Harris and former President Barack Obama shared the stage for the first time at a star-studded rally in Georgia's Atlanta, appealing to black voters. Meanwhile, Trump, in his last-minute speech in the state, declared that he is the opposite of a Nazi. Michigan was in Trump's kitty in 2016, but he lost to Biden just 4 years later. In primaries earlier this year, many Michigan Democrats did not back Biden because of his support for Israel's war in Gaza. Harris was heckled by an anti-war protester in a recent rally. Nevada, with 6 electoral votes, has leaned Democratic in every election since 2008, with candidates winning by a slim margin. The state has lagged behind in terms of economic recovery post the pandemic. Both Harris and Trump have promised to turn things around. North Carolina, a state recently ravaged by Hurricane Helene, had last voted for a Democratic president in 2008. Trump clinched the state in 2020 by just 75,000 votes. Joe Biden won Wisconsin in 2020, flipping the state that sided with Trump during his first presidential run. In both 2016 and 2020, polls underestimated the support for Trump. For now, we'll have to stay put and see who will emerge the victor. This is Kiran Khatri for CNBC-TV18.
So if Donald Trump wins, this will be his second term in the White House. That's not all. He will become only the second president in America's history to have lost power and then staged a comeback. Grover Cleveland did the same 132 years ago, fighting the enemy within, carrying out a mass deportation of undocumented migrants and tariff for a tariff. These have been a few threats from Trump's election campaign. The big question we're asking today is, what are Donald Trump's intentions? To understand more, we are now joined by Michael Wolff, American journalist and author of the best-selling trilogy about Trump's time at the White House, Fire and Fury, Siege and Landslide. Wolff has had a front-row view of Trump's presidency. He has also been a columnist for top publications, including the New York Magazine and The Guardian. Mr. Wolff, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me begin by asking you, in 2017, in Fire and Fury, you had written that he never really wanted to win. He never thought he could win. He only wanted to be the most famous man in the world. What do you think when he's fighting for re-election this time? Why does he want to win and why does he want to be on the ballot?
Well, he wants to win because, for one reason, because that's the way, probably the only way, he will stay out of jail. So it's kind of elemental. But the other reason, the broader reason, is that his basic interest is not being the president of the United States. His basic interest is being Donald Trump, the most famous man in the world. And he's kind of boxed himself into a corner. In order to be the Donald Trump that we know, he has to be either the president or running for president. So it's existential for him. Existential because this is the only way he'll stay out of jail is to be in the White House, and the only way he can continue to be the most famous man in the world is if he becomes president.
Right. So primarily he wants to stay out of jail. Tell us about his understanding with Elon Musk, the Tesla CEO. From what we've read, that he is likely to become the chief of the Efficiency Commission in the White House if Trump is elected. But is there an understanding between the two?
Let me interrupt. There is no such thing as an efficiency commission. So that's like, Trump makes a lot of promises to a lot of people, and I think some off the top of his head, he came up with this idea of an efficiency commission, which means nothing. I suppose that Elon Musk has an agenda. He wants something. He wants a better business environment for himself, and he sees that as he sees the way to get that through supporting Donald Trump. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, so he may have ambitions beyond that. One of the things that there's a lot of speculation about is that Elon Musk is trying to ultimately elect J.D. Vance, Trump's vice presidential pick, as an ultimate president. So we don't know. He's a rich man. He's given an enormous amount of money to Donald Trump. Obviously, he wants something for it. But the other interesting point about this is that both men, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, see themselves as kind of king of the world. So is there room for two kings of the world? I will tell you that certainly in Donald Trump's White House, there would not be. And I would expect that Elon Musk will depart his love for Donald Trump in tears at some point.
Right. Very interesting. There can't be two kings, king of the worlds in the White House. You had a front row view of Trump's presidency. I would like to ask you, what is currently motivating his strong views on immigration? He said a lot of harsh things, probably harsher than his previous campaigns. What's going for him right now? Who's motivating all of this?
Well, I mean, he's just motivated to win. He's always felt that his issue, his singular issue, the issue that won him the presidency in 2016 was immigration. So he's just continued. Trump always continues to do what has worked for him in the past. Actually, often he continues to do what hasn't worked for him in the past. He just he continues to do more accurately what he has always done, and his political career is built on immigration or baiting the immigration issue, and he is now continuing to do that.
Right. You're someone who has interviewed Trump and so many people who are close to him. What is the real understanding within his family? What's their role in the current election campaign? You were one of the people who recently said nobody's talking about his relationship with Melania Trump right now. Could you give us a sense of the background? What are his terms with the family right now?
Well, I mean, let's start with his wife. Trump has been campaigning for 2 years. His wife's first campaign appearance on his behalf was just the other day, 6 days from the from the election. She has never, in all of his court appearances, she has never once been at his side. It's always been quite unclear where she lives. She's already been saying that if he wins again, that she would be spending most of her time in New York. I mean, I think that there are reasonable questions here. I mean, questions that would be asked of any other politician or candidate, certainly someone who might be the president. What exactly is the nature of the marriage? Are you really married, in fact? Or is it an arrangement? So these questions obviously hang out there. That's called the "Where's Melania" question. As for the other major family relationship, which has been with his daughter, who was in the White House, had a job in the White House during his presidency, and his son-in-law, her husband Jared Kushner, who had a senior-most position in the White House, and they have kept their distance from Trump, never appear with him. Seemed like his wife, you might infer, to be shunning him.
Right. You have also, have you ever, in your interviews with Donald Trump, understood his relationship with some foreign leaders? Because he's always maintained that he can stop the Ukraine-Russia war within 24 hours if given a chance. Does he have any sort of understanding with Vladimir Putin? Has there ever been some sort of strong foreign interference, foreign support to his campaign?
Well, we don't know that. There have been investigation after investigation, deep investigations into this question. So there's been clearly an enormous amount of suspicion about the nature, the meretricious nature of the Trump-Putin relationship, but we don't know. Trump does this thing of that he likes to imply that there's a relationship, but then, of course, when there's an investigation, he denies there's a relationship. So the idea. This idea that there would be no wars if Donald Trump were president, because other leaders would be afraid to go to war and to affect the interests of the United States if Donald Trump were president, because they don't know what Donald Trump would do, because they suspect he's a crazy man, is part of the Trump the image that he likes to protect. Does it have any substance? Donald Trump is vastly more interested in image than substance.
Right. And finally, very briefly, you said during his last re-election campaign, Sean Hannity of Fox News dictated Trump's election strategy. Is there someone dictating things right now, running the show for him behind the scenes?
No, I didn't. That's inaccurate. I didn't say that that Sean Hannity dictated his election strategy. I said that Sean Hannity was calling up all the time with advice and ideas, and at one point, created an ad for Donald Trump. That ad actually then only ran on Sean Hannity's shows. So more to the point, no one dictates Donald Trump's strategy. Donald Trump is very hard to tell Donald Trump anything. So it's a kind of hit and miss, whose ideas prevail, and ultimately it is all about Donald Trump, as everything is.
It is all about Donald Trump, isn't it? But thank you so much. We got a sense of the mind of Donald Trump as he is trying to get re-elected, and you gave us the reasons for that as well. Thank you very much for joining us, Michael Wolff. On that note, we are slipping into a short break here on our election special, but don't go anywhere. We will be joined by former Indian ambassador to the United States, former Foreign Secretary and former G20 Sherpa Harshvardhan Shringla on the other side to decode why the US election matters for India-US ties.